Thank you very much for joining us today. This was originally a network event for BTEC Performing Arts teachers in schools, but due to the extraordinary circumstances we find ourselves in, we thought it would be a good idea to open it up to all of you and give you all the latest information and guidance that we have. What a crazy few weeks it's been. I hope that you're all coping and managing as best you can. My name is Paul Webster, and I'm the subject advisor for Pearson's Performing Arts and Drama qualifications. Joining me today are the Senior Standards Verifiers for Performing Arts and Dance, Sally Dewars and Heidi McKenty. What we're going to do today is we're going to give you as much information as we know at this stage. There are decisions that are being made on a daily basis, and we just really want you to understand that we're doing everything we possibly can to make sure that BTEC students are feted fairly and get the grades that they deserve. We are working with other awarding bodies and with Ofqual to determine the best possible solutions. There is going to be an announcement tomorrow from the DFE about the next steps. The focus of it is likely to be on GCSE and A-level, but please don't worry. We will do everything we can to make sure that we have got guidance for you as soon as we possibly can. So the information that we're going to be sharing today is really what we know, and as soon as we do have more announcements, we will send them to all centres. We'll send them to exams officers and to quality nominees, and we'll put them on the website, and I'll share them on the Facebook groups and you know, every possible means. So today is not going to be 2 hours. It's more likely to be about an hour, and really just feel free to stay for the sections that are of interest to you. I sent you an email last week to request that you send questions to me. As trying to answer lots of questions today from 200 people is going to be quite difficult, I think. So thank you for those that have submitted questions, and we'll talk through the main news and then attempt to answer the queries. I'm going to record this because then we can share it everywhere. So I'm going to go to the presentation now. Please bear with me because technically I'm absolutely appalling. So hopefully you should be able to see that now. I have no idea if you can or not, so I'm just going to assume that you can. Here is the agenda. Oh, I've skipped forward too much there. Here is the agenda for today. This is what we'll be covering this afternoon. So we'll look at the latest updates.
Sorry, just to interrupt.
Yeah,
you're not sharing your screen yet.
Oh yeah, that would be the logical thing to do, wouldn't it? Yay.
Yeah.
Sorry, everyone. Right, here we go. Okay, hopefully everybody can see that.
Yeah, that's perfect, Paul.
Yay, thank you. So this is what we're going to be covering. We're going to be looking at the latest updates for you, the frequently asked questions that you've been sending in to us. We will have a look at some free online resources that are currently available for performing arts students. We'll share some ideas and approaches to remote teaching and learning. And we will have a look at an example of student work for the TEC Award in Dance. I'm sorry that we can't look at other disciplines or qualifications today. We are hoping that we will be able to do some more of these network events in the future. So please bear with us on that. So in terms of the latest news and updates, the first thing is about standards verification. And as you are now aware, this is now on hold for this year. It means that we've paused the verification process until we know what the next steps will be. And this will affect all students, whether they are completing this year or not. As I said before, the exam boards who offer vocational qualifications are working together to determine how best students can be awarded the qualifications if they're completing this year, and also the impact that it will have on students who are certificating in 2021 or beyond. One of the questions that we've had is about whether students can continue with internal units or components at home, and if they are able to do so, does the work need to be authenticated by the teacher? So yes, students can carry on with continuing the work if that is what your centre have said for you to do, because for some centres they have said that teaching should continue as normal wherever possible, and in others it's just not happening at all. So please be directed by your centre in terms of that. If you are going to do any assessment in terms of authentication, on our assessment record templates, we have a statement which is that you're signing it to the best of your knowledge. So as long as you've been guiding your students in some way remotely, then it shouldn't be a problem for you to do that. When inputting student learner grades, you can do that now if you have students certificating this year. And this is going to apply for any units that you may have sent to your SV already for verification. If you haven't finished one or some or all of the units or components and students are completing this year, and you can carry on with the work, then please do so. If it's not possible to do that, then please don't worry. We will provide further guidance on this as soon as we possibly can. In terms of external units and components, they've all been cancelled now. So this applies to component 3 of the BTEC Award, units 1 and 8 of the BTEC Firsts, and units 1, 3, 5 and 7 of the BTEC Nationals. If you are in a position where you have students who haven't been entered for these external assessments yet, please speak to your exams office or your quality nominee or whoever is responsible in your centre for making these exam entries. What we would like you to do is carry on making the entries, not to actually complete the tasks, but to make the entries so that we have a clear picture of how many students are going to be affected. Now, this is not just for those students who are completing this year, but it's also for students in year 9, potentially year 10 or year 12, who might be certificating in 2021 or 22. The deadline for these submissions is this Friday, the 3rd of April. In regards to whether students would be able to retake an external unit or component in the autumn term, this was a proposal put forward by the DFE around options for students who may not be happy with the grades that will be awarded. For BTEC, we are not sure how this is going to happen yet, because as you know, virtually all of our external tasks involve a prolonged amount of time prior to the task in terms of preparation. And the majority of the tasks also require students to work in groups. So this is one of the things that we are discussing with the other boards as to how best we can progress with this. I've had lots of questions from you about what happens with students who are completing a task in year 9 or 10 or 12 and aren't completing this year. So they might have been working on component 3 or unit 3 of the nationals. And the situation we're in is that the external tasks are cancelled, and therefore students shouldn't continue to work on them for assessment. It may be that you have students in year 10 or 12 or 9 that want to carry on to understand the requirements and use it as a mock as it currently stands, but in terms of it being used for assessment purposes, this isn't going to be possible. I've had some teachers ask about whether it's going to be possible to transfer the theme or the context of the particular task that's being used this year with the year 10s or 12s. And although this isn't confirmed yet, it's highly unlikely that this will be the case, but we will let you know that when we can. Another question that's come in is around what happens with students who've already completed external tasks. So, for example, Unit 1 could have been done and they're certificating this year, and will this count towards their final qualification grade? And what happens if some in the class were able to do it and some weren't? So this is another point that we need to determine and work out. And for GCSE and A-level, it's relatively straightforward. And potentially that's why Ofqual are able to make clearer guidance available at the moment. As we know, with the BTEC external tasks, these can be completed in the year before certification. They can be completed at particular points during the academic year. And this is another reason why there is a longer delay with us being able to release guidance for vocational qualifications. So please bear with us on that. In terms of students certificating next year, a lot of you are worried about this, and it's completely understandable. One question is about adjustment of expectations for students who are in the first year of a 2-year course or 3-year course, and who are, they're missing this term, and potentially they're going to miss the summer term as well. So this is another variable that we're in discussions with Ofqual and the other boards. So, how do we make up for the fact that there's so much time that's being lost for those students who would now be working in groups? What happens when things potentially get back to some kind of normality? So, are we going to be starting back in September, or is that going to be delayed? Will there be future lockdowns and implications on the certification of students finishing in 2021? All of these questions are being discussed. They're all being worked through, and I am really sorry that we can't provide any more information on this at the moment. We will, of course, let you know as soon as we can. So that's where we're at, ladies and gentlemen, in terms of the news. As I said, we are hoping that following on from the guidance that's released tomorrow by the DFE, that we'll then be able to provide you with clear guidance on BTECs as soon as we possibly can. But please just hang in there. We know how difficult this is for you and for the questions that are being asked by not only students but their parents as well. So we're just trying to work out really what is the best thing to do. So thank you for your patience with that. Now, what we'd like to do is move on to look into the future and see how we can continue to work wherever possible and plan for next term and for the next academic year. So the first thing to say is that we have some training events that will be taking place, and these are all online. The ones that are listed there about the enhancing delivery and the standardisation marking all come with a fee of £50. Just so you know, this is a kind of standard for qualifications that are up and running. And any course that we offer that is about teachers who are new to a course, so for example, the Getting Started Ways to Teach and Assess the Level 3 qualifications, they are free. We do have standardisation anyway as part of the BTEC course with Oscar, and we will be doing more of these types of events, these online and face-to-face, hopefully network events in the future, where we'll be able to look at some materials as well. All the online events take place between 4 and half 6, and if you would like to book a place on one of the courses, if you go onto our website, if you select support at the top of the screen and then training from Pearson, you will be able to book onto a place. I've also put the link on there and we'll share it with you afterwards as well. The BTEC Awards are an annual celebration of BTEC achievement for students, teachers and for centres as well. And this year is the 10th anniversary. We usually have a glitzy affair in London where we invite all the winners of the awards to come down and we have a big celebration. But due to our current circumstances, we will be doing this as an online event with a face-to-face later on in the year for the winners. Now, the event's going to take place on Thursday, the 25th of June at 2 o'clock. And as an online event, we will share that with everybody. It's likely to be either through YouTube or Facebook, but we'll share the details. Now, the nominations are still open until this Friday. So if you are interested, I've put the links on the screen, but the best thing to do to find it is to go onto our website, and in the top right-hand corner, there's a little search button, a little magnifying glass, and if you just type BTEC Awards into that, it will take you to the nominations page. So there are two nominations that you'll probably be interested in. One is for Performing Arts Student of the Year, and the other is for Teacher of the Year. You won't be able to nominate yourself, but you could always ask your colleagues to put you forward if you like. As part of the BTEC Awards ceremony, we have the opportunity for students to perform. Now, usually when it's the face-to-face event, we have the students coming to London and performing, and we've had some incredible ones in the past, some absolutely humdinging performances from students. And what we would like to do this year is continue with that, but they're going to be online performances. So if you are interested, you can nominate your students. It may be that they have done something this year, solo, in duets, as a group, that you've got a recording of and you think is absolutely fantastic, and you'd be happy to share, and they'd be happy to share as part of this award ceremony. And it would be great if you could send anything through. But you might also want to think about this as an opportunity to set them some an exercise, an activity to do at home. So for instance, it could be that you say to them, or you commission them all to do, you know, a 2-minute monologue or performance or song or whatever it would be, that they record themselves and then you can send to us, and we could use as part of the ceremony. So the nominations for Showstopper Challenge is they are open until the 1st of May. I hope you can see that as a positive opportunity for your students. It's something potentially for them to work on if they aren't able to work on anything else that they're doing at the moment. Now, we I sent to you a document, or I tried to anyway. We had a few server issues there, but I sent a Word document of online resources that are available for you and your students to watch or refer to whilst we are in isolation. And there's a copy in the folder on here as well. What I wanted to do is just highlight a couple of them for you, which I think are quite interesting. So that's how the form should look. That's the start of it. So it's got the details of what the online resource is and the link if you click on the name. But these ones, I just wanted to highlight that these there's some really interesting things here. So the first one is Dance Alone Together, and this is a free platform for dance students where they can take part in dance classes and watch interviews and work from dancers and choreographers. So if you haven't seen this yet and you've got some students who need stimulating, then you can share this with them because it's pretty good. The Time of Your Life is a show that was created by Gecko Theatre Company, and they are one of the leading physical theatre companies working in the UK right now. They mix acting, dance, physical theatre and multimedia performance. You may have seen some of their work. They're pretty prolific, and they've done nationwide tours. They've done a lot at the Edinburgh Festival, etc. And the production here was made specifically for the BBC, so it's really well filmed. The next one is BBC Bite Size, and although this isn't BTEC specifically, there are 20 short films made by theatre makers from the Royal Court, and they feature a lot of new plays that your students might be interested in. The films they're written by young writers, they are starring young performers, and also there are interviews with lighting, sound, set and costume designers, and again they're all young theatre makers, so it may be something that your students might be interested in. I am going to blow my own trumpet here, but I worked on these films all last year. I took on another job as well as this one. I had 2 full-time jobs, which is a bit crazy, but I hope that you enjoy the films because I'm very proud of them, and I think that they should give you and your students some good ideas. The next one here is Tim Crouch. If you don't know of Tim Crouch, then he's a wonderful writer and performer, and he explores relationships and responsibilities between performers and the audience. And there are 2 solo works available. One is I Sinner, and the other is I Malvolio. So what he's done is he's taken key characters in Shakespeare's plays, and he's created solo shows about them. So they are absolutely wonderful and inspirational, especially for your students who are at home and potentially can see how you can create something wonderful, just you on your own. Girls Like That by Evan Placey, seminal text from 2013. It's a cracking production, really well filmed and performed, and if your students don't know about this play, they really need to watch this. It's inspirational. 21 Chump Street is a short musical by the creator of Hamilton, Lin-Manuel Miranda. It's inventive, funny, and again it's very well filmed, so I would check that out. And finally, on just this little highlight list is Bubble by Kieran Hurley. Now, this is really fascinating. It's an experimental new play about freedom of speech and online debate, and it's performed by actors from 8 different European countries who've never met in person. but it's set on Facebook, and it's about Facebook, and it's a bit potty mouthed at times. There is swearing from the start, so if you do have students of a sensitive disposition, then maybe you should watch it before sharing it to make sure that they're okay with it. Claire has just asked, can we have a copy of this PowerPoint? Yes, it's in the downloadable material section, Claire. So you should be able to download a copy, but I can send you a copy afterwards if there's a problem. Okay, so I'm now going to hand you over to Sally, who is going to talk to you about possible approaches to teaching and learning remotely. Over to you, Sally.
Thanks, Paul, and hi everyone. Okay, so we're kind of into week 2 now of kind of this odd situation, and certainly of you sort of trying to teach your students remotely. And it occurred to me that one of the other things I do for Pearson is I'm also an international standards verifier, and as part of that, one of my patches this year is Hong Kong and Kowloon. Now, I'm sure most of you are aware, Hong Kong Island and Kowloon went into lockdown round about the sort of the 3rd to 4th week of January. And apart from 1 or 2 sort of odd occasions where restrictions have been loosened slightly, they kind of have been in that situation since. They were hoping that schools would go back to normal after Easter, but at the moment it's looking like they've got at least another 3 weeks to go. One of the schools that I'm in touch with there is King George V School, known as KG5. And as well as running sort of a British curriculum as well as international baccalaureates, they also run our level 3 BTEC in Performing Arts as well as other ones. And I was lucky enough, and Tom and Sean, who are teachers there, gave me some time on Monday morning just to talk through their experiences, because obviously they're a lot further down the road than we are. And they were very candid with me. I think one of the first things that that Tom said to me is you have to expect that the first few weeks of this, your experience as a teacher and possibly that of the learners isn't going to be terribly good. He used a 4-letter word that I won't use on there, but basically he said it was for the first few weeks, because essentially, you know, it was sprung on them at very late notice, same as you guys. And they had about 3 days to prepare, and then that was it, they went into lockdown. But one of the positive things, a lot of positives came out of that, and I think some lessons learned as well. The first thing he said, and I'm going to go over some of the apps and some of the strategies they use, but just some sort of general advice to begin with, is you should really only aim to teach probably about 30% of what you would normally be able to get through if your students were with you in your centre. And he just said that that was something that they discovered, not just in Performing Arts, but across the whole curriculum, that they went into it just assuming they'd be able to sort of almost do a full timetable and not online. And it became obvious quite quickly that that just simply wasn't going to work. So, you know, he said, if you can get through about 30% of what you would expect to, you should feel, you know, quite sort of fortunate and proud of yourself. He said the second mistake they made was to try and take what they would normally have done online, done rather face to face, and try and place it somehow online. And again, he said there were a lot of issues with that, and eventually they had to backtrack with that and really just go back to the curriculum in some instances. And they're doing the level 3 and one of our larger sizes, swapping units around, particularly for the year 12 students, so that, you know, they were able to still progress with the qualification. So, for example, they reevaluated some of the units they were doing. They got rid of a unit that was going to be a theatre and education piece and replaced it with auditions for actors. Now, for those of you who are currently doing our BTEC Award or our 2016 level 3, you know, it is possible to go back and look at component 2, if it's the BTEC award, unit 3, if it is the if you're unit 2 rather, if you're doing the level 3, and really sort of think about what projects you were going to do. A lot of those aren't going to be possible, and therefore, you know, it's about looking at sort of what you actually can do. They do a lot of, they have managed to eventually get into place a lot of remote teaching and learning for this. And a lot of the apps that they're using for this that they have found really, really useful. In terms of the communication apps, they found that Google Meet is a very good one. It's a much simpler platform than the more sort of popular Zoom. It does allow some screen sharing. It allows a chat log. And also, you know, it can be sort of, screens can be downloaded for resharing. Zoom, some of you are, I'm sure, aware of Zoom. I became aware of it actually only last week. And the conversation I had with the guys in Hong Kong was through Zoom. It has got much more advanced capabilities. It does seem to me to be very, very stable. We do a lot of online meetings already. You know, at Pearson, and I actually found that Zoom is better than some of the apps that we've been using. The good thing about it is it does allow you to have virtual breakout spaces so that students can work together in small groups. It also allows virtual backgrounds so that, you know, if your centre is a little bit twitchy about your students being able to see your kitchen and possibly someone walking past, you know, we've seen some horror stories, haven't we, of people in meetings where husband's gone past not quite fully clothed. But it does allow you to put virtual backgrounds in, which means that you have got some kind of privacy in there. Both of these, you know, use a lot of tools. It's a very stable platform, and Zoom can be used for whole class teaching if necessary. It does give you the ability to mute and turn off participants' cameras if you need to. And in actual fact, KG5 are in the process of running a virtual audition process. They're doing it for Unit 18 auditions for actors, but of course, you know, any sort of individual work, monologues, and things like that could be done through this, because again, they were hoping to get, they were in a position where a couple of weeks ago they were managing to get students into school just for short sessions. Unfortunately, they've been locked back down again because having almost cleared it from Hong Kong, the borders open and there's been a few more imported cases. And, you know, Paul was saying we may be in a situation where we're in and out of this lockdown for some time, and it's about, and they were saying, you know, it allowed them to be flexible. The one positive thing as well they said about that is they were able to get their year 12s and 13s in a couple of weeks ago just for some fairly short sessions, and the enthusiasm which these students attacked these sessions was fantastic. So, you know, I think one of the things that we might find when we get through to the other end of this is some of our young people will be much more appreciative of what we're doing for them and of just the experience. Okay. So yes, I think, you know, any of those, you could do monologues, as I say, for component 2. For unit 2 in the level 3, although the unit isn't really set up for monologues, I think certainly within teaching and learning, and depending on where we end up, we're not going to be difficult with you if that's what you want to do. Okay. In terms of evidence gathering, now this is a new one for me, Flipgrid. I don't know about this, but what they were saying was that Flipgrid was something that they were tending to use with the lower students. This school goes all the way down to primary level. But they found that because Flipgrid does allow you to ask questions and set very short tasks, to get the students to record time responses, that they found that for some of the aspects of performing arts, it was very, very good. So it is something that you could have a look at. Flipgrid, if you just, I went on this afternoon and just Googled Flipgrid, and there's lots of examples of how people are used have used it. They actually did a kickoff of actually it's Unit 1 Performance Workshop, which is a unit off the QCF, but essentially it's a unit that is about creating work, whether that be through choreography, whether that be through devising. And they were saying that actually using Flipgrid was a great way of getting learners to share ideas for stimulus and getting immediate responses from learners. Google Classroom, I'm sure you're probably all aware of Google Classroom, and it has, for some of you, it's already a default way of sharing things like assignment briefs and unit tasks, etc. But you know, again, have a look at it. There's often, with a lot of these online tools, until you're in a situation where you have to use them, you know, you often don't realise the full capabilities of these. One of the things that Tom and Sean did say to me is their IT skills have rocketed in the time that they have been in lockdown, as have their teaching skills. They're now at the situation where they are you know, doing some really exciting activities, including things where the teacher is in role, and getting the students to go around the house and find costumes so that they can be in role as well. You know, they were saying that they've had some really sort of enjoyable and fun sessions with them. Google Slides has been used. It's a good way of teaching content, and they were saying they used that for a lot of their teachers across most subjects were using it to teach content. It does allow also students to upload videos, audios, images, and writing, which is a good evidence gathering tool again. Again, I'll just put a word in for one that we've been using for quite a while, which is Padlet. And Padlet is really good as well for that. It is just a great way of sharing lots of stuff. A couple of things just in terms of admin and organisation, so if you just want to move that on. Again, using Google Drive is something that I know an awful lot of you centres do anyway, and it does allow students to, it allows you to sort of store evidence, and it's something that we would prefer in some respects for you to be using anyway. It's much more easy to sort of perhaps using a lot of paper-based thing. But just one more thing as well, which is Wix. Wix, W-I-X. It's a free online web creator, and it has been used again as a way of allowing the students to build a portfolio of work. Not necessarily as a learning tool, but just to allow them to think of different ways of doing things and to create stuff. Obviously, the qualifications that we're teaching do have theoretical aspects to them as well as practical, and those practical aspects are the ones that are going to be the most challenging for us to simulate in an online environment or in a remote environment. However, one of the things that the KG5 staff did say is that initially they went far too far into sort of just setting research tasks. And if you're not careful by just doing that, you know, watch this video of this play and then write something about it, you can wring the life out of it. They did say that where they were asking learners to watch either a full-length play, a full-length piece of dance or extracts, to maybe get students to look for specifics rather than just looking at general things. So, for example, things like the most definitive props, use of lighting states, use of movement, and different things like that, and getting different learners to watch it in different ways to try and sort of tease out those things. I think, generally speaking, the conversation I had with them was incredibly positive. I think, you know, they'd obviously, I think, went through the same stresses and the same angsts as we did in the first couple of weeks. But once they'd got out the other end, solving problems, and I know you'll all have individual problems. We know that some centres have issues with you know, with sort of rules and regulations around child protection. You're going to need to work within whatever your centre rules are. But there is a lot out there in terms of help. This document, I think, is also available for you to download. And as I say, get over the first 3 weeks is what those teachers said, and hopefully, you know, you can create some really interesting activities that will engage your learners through this process. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Sally. That was brilliant, and thank you to everybody who contributed during that and came up with with some really good ideas and suggestions. As I said, this is just the feedback and the experience that we've had from a particular centre. And if it's not possible for you to do this, then there's not a problem. It's just that we wanted to share their findings with you and their examples of good practice. We're now going to move on to talk about the example of student work that we shared with you. I sent this to you via email, and I'm going to pass you over to the Senior Standards Verifier for Dance now, Heidi, to talk you through the work.
Hello, hi everyone, this is Heidi. We are going to be looking at the BTEC Award. So if you teach in further education and you don't come across this qualification, now is probably the time to go. If you deliver level 2, it can be beneficial, but obviously it is a different specification we're looking at. So we're going to look at an example of student work. I've got one piece for us to look at, and it's a performance of an extract from Alvin Ailey's Revelations. And this evidence has been taken from component 2, developing skills and techniques for the performing arts. The work is from learners taking a dance approach. However, if you're coming from an acting or musical theatre background within this specification, I do think this exercise will still be helpful. Now, for those of us who are unfamiliar with this component, for a performer, component 2 looks at the development and application of performing arts skills and techniques, as well as reviewing progress throughout the assessed element of the component. Let's move on to the next slide, Fab. Now, for a quick recap, there are 3 learning aims. Learning aim A, which focuses on the development of skills and techniques through technique classes, workshops and rehearsals. Learning aim B, which focuses on the application of skills and techniques through rehearsals and performance of professional repertoire. In learning aim C, it's the review of the development and application of skills and techniques. So the evidence for this component mainly consists of video footage. So milestone video recordings of technique classes, workshops and rehearsals of repertoire, alongside a video recording of the final performance of repertoire. For learning aim C, reviews can take a variety of different forms, such as milestone logs, logbooks, blogs, vlogs, audio recordings. So however you want to generate that evidence. It is worth mentioning at this point that hello, can you hear me? I keep on getting muted.
We can hear you again now.
Oh, fabulous, thank you. What's worth mentioning at this point is that we're looking at one dance style and one dance performance of professional repertoire for assessment. So our guidance for what constitutes professional repertoire is work that is created by and for professionals. So in dance, your learners may study jazz dance and perform either some Bob Fosse or Jerome Robbins choreography, or they could study contemporary dance and perform a bit of Martha Graham's Appalachian Spring if they wanted to be a bit hardcore, or they could study ballet and perform an extract from Ashton's The Dream, maybe the ensemble fairy section or Bottom's solo, which is a bit fun, or the rustics dance. You can move beyond these styles too, so street dance, tap dance and world dance. For example, performing the choreography of a successful pop star's concert is acceptable, or giving, say, Good Morning a go from Singing in the Rain, or looking at repertoire from a Bollywood film. So as a BTEC assessor, we apply the criteria to the evidence using the assessment guidance in the specification to guide us. So now the criteria differentiates between levels through key command verbs. So here is the learning aim that we'll be looking at, learning aim B. At level 1, learners can achieve a pass or a merit, and they will demonstrate a limited or basic application of skills. At level 2 pass, it's applying skills with competency. Level 2 merit, application of dance skills will be effective and creative. At level 2 distinction, learners will be assured, considered in their selection of skills, and they will show a high level of technical ability. If you haven't already, please do download the video of Revelations down the side. Whilst you do that, I will talk a little bit more about the learning aim. There are 2 aspects to this learning aim: the rehearsal and performance of repertoire. But now we don't have the video footage of the rehearsals here with us today, just the performance. And so for the purpose of this exercise, the application of skills in rehearsal are at the same level as seen in the final performance. I will discuss this a little. In the lower levels of the criteria, rehearsal and performance are separate with the descriptors, but from level 2 merit and above, they are combined into one criterion descriptor. When looking at your own assessment, the application of skills in rehearsal can impact on the overall achievement of this learning aim. So an extreme example of this could be that in rehearsals, your learner has been as good as gold, applying their skills to a high level of proficiency. The performance happens, something goes on, means the learner's putting in effort, they lose focus, they might start laughing, and when you look at the performance, you're struggling to justify the competence for the level 2 pass, and this would have an impact. Likewise, if your learner puts no effort in the rehearsals, but as many learners do sometimes, pull it out of the bag in performance. So to get the level 2 merit or higher, both elements, the rehearsal and performance, should reflect the level 2 merit criterion at the minimum. But today, none of that matters, as we're solely looking at performance and imagining that the rehearsal process reflected the same level of ability. So the criteria looks at technical, stylistic and interpretative skills. So in technical application, are physical skills displayed? Whether they are embodying the stylistic features or qualities of the style and or of the choreography, and are they applying interpretative skills? Are they engaged, communicating to the audience, or do they communicate their role in performance or the choreographic intention? In a minute, I'll give you a little time to watch the video, and when you do, the learner we're looking at is the female soloist who starts, who performs first. As you watch, please feel free to type your observations in the chat box. And there might be some, there may be some good practice that you notice as you go through, but also I think have a think about whereabouts to place this learner on the grid. So ask yourself whether the learners show limited or basic technical, stylistic and interpretative skills, or we would be, and if that was the case, we'd be looking at the level 1 pass or merit, or does this, do they show the competent application of those skills, so making her a level 2 pass, or is it appropriate and creative, so you looking at a level 2 merit? So to get to that distinction, we need to be seeing confidence and assured use of skills and a high technical standard. So I'll go quiet for a couple of minutes to give you the opportunity to watch the video, and please do put any observations in the chat box. Just to reiterate what Paul has said in the chat box, unfortunately we can't show the video on the main screen, which is why we've shared the link. There is a YouTube link that someone shared, so please do sort of, use the YouTube if it's taking time to download. Right, so to clarify, it's the first learner that starts performing. She walks forward, I think. The first solo, yes. So this is for the level 2 BTEC Award in Performing Arts with a dance approach. So this is the qualification covers level 1 and 2. And somebody has kindly shared the original rep as well. I think with this, I think you can trust. We would. It is rep, and it's done quite closely to the original. So I'm going to start to talk about the observations that I've had with this as well. So if Paul, we could click onto the next screen, that would be lovely. Oh no, we're here. Thank you. So you can continue to watch it as well. Got some lovely comments coming through. It is, we've got a performance of Revelations. It's quite a challenging extract. And if you get a chance to click on that YouTube video of the original, then you'll see it is very challenging extracts that they've done. What you don't see in this video, as I've edited it out, is that this performance includes a whole class of dancers. And this was the stretch and challenge section, I suppose. But the majority of learners performed the extract from the beginning of the piece, where the movement is a little less rushed with more pedestrian movement. And this allowed the teacher to differentiate in class, and learners performed in sections that challenged them as individual dancers. And there's a lot of a lot of performances that offer this opportunity that allows you to differentiate between, say, the more advanced and the ones who are just getting to grips with the movement. Another observation is it's a clear recording of a studio performance, which makes the learner's achievement all the more visible. You can put on a performance in a theatre, obviously, when we're not in these current times. But you can do that. You could have it in front of a live audience with all the theatre lighting and everything. But it's always good to check the camera when you're doing that, to make sure that they don't turn into little white blobs through the theatre lighting, and making sure you've got a good white balance on there. Video recording a rehearsal in the same stage space without the lights is also a good idea in case the video of the live performance does go a bit funny. Okay, so in terms of the learner's performance, there is energy, there's commitment and control in the performance, and there's also an understanding of the meaning behind the piece with a successful attempt at conveying this to the audience through their movement. So we see a lot of the extension and stretch that's pertinent to this work. And her technical skills are strong. So she's not as fluent as the other boy and girl in the performance, but she's still applying a high level of technical proficiency at level 2. So let's have a look at some of your comments as we go. We've got people who, oh, lovely, people have committed to a grade. I like that. I'm just scrolling back a little bit. So we've got, she has a good application of various, oh, it's very difficult, various challenging skills. Yes, so we can see that she's a competent dancer, and it's very challenging. Yeah. And she is very focused and showing dedication to the style and performance, even if it's not as technically strong as the other dancers. Yeah, and that's right. And I think sometimes we can get caught up in grading within a cohort, and sometimes we need to, it's that thing of being like applying the national standard of what is at level 2 a distinction or a merit or a pass. And sometimes some of these in this 3, it's some very, very strong dancers. She's very confident in her performance, and yeah, Denise says that she was drawn to watching her throughout, focused and committed. So really some lovely comments here. Yes, she was. She's slightly less technical than the others, but very watchable. Yeah, so we've got some people are going for the merit and distinction, level 2 merit and level 2 distinction. Fabulous. All the actors and musical theatre people give it a go as well. We welcome it. Yes, we've got, so we're all around the right ballpark basically. And fabulous. And just there's so many comments. Brilliant. It's lovely to see some fantastic comments. Okay, so right, I'm gonna put you out of your misery. Oh, I think we need to, oh, there, hold on, there we go. Okay, so it's a distinction. So this learner has achieved a distinction, level 2 distinction for learning aim B. The learner performs with energy, commitment, and a real understanding of what she is communicating. She applies technique to a high standard and interpretative skills with focus and control. I hope this is giving you a nice example of approaching this unit from a dance approach, and that you found it useful. Thank you for your lovely comments about the work. This is a beautiful piece of work, and thank you very much for your time with this. Back to you, Paul.
Thank you very much, Heidi. That was very enjoyable, and yeah, great comments from people. There's a question there from Michael about being able to see how she reviewed herself, and that might be something that we can share with you after this event, because we do have more materials, but we're just trying to focus on quite a kind of succinct activity really. So but we'll do our best to share that information with you. Okay, so we have come to the end of the session, ladies and gentlemen, and I hope that you have found it useful. There's my face again and the one on the screen. I'm very sorry show so many versions of me. Oh, look, there's Sally. Hello, Sally. We have got various ways in which you can contact us. You can call us on 0333 016 4141. Hello, Heidi. You're right. Look at us all over the country. You can email me at teachingperformingarts@pearson.com. You can also raise a case or put a question on our communities on the website. I'm on Twitter at Pearson Perf Arts, and we have a wonderful BTEC Performing Arts Sharing Best Practice group on Facebook, which there's quite a few people on there now. And if you want to carry on these conversations, then that is an ideal place to do so. You can share your thoughts and ideas and anything that you're working on. And if you wanted to use this as an opportunity to get details from other people of the contact details and then be able to set up standardization yourself and cross-marking, then that's absolutely fine. Just please don't put any of the work onto the Facebook group. That would be lovely. We really hope that this has been a useful hour with and we hope that we're able to share as much information with you as we can later on this week. Take care of yourselves, stay safe, don't go out if you don't have to, and we will speak to you again very soon. For now, goodbye and take care of yourselves. Thank you. Bye.